Most people believe power comes from how loud you are, how much you say, how well you debate. But what if I told you? The real advantage lies in not speaking at all. Today, we solve the problem of being overlooked, underestimated, and overtalked by turning silence into your sharpest weapon. True power is never found in the mere volume of one's voice or the quantity of words spoken. It is not the one who shouts the loudest or the one who dominates conversations that commands the greatest respect or influence. Instead, power is a subtle art that lives in the shadows of perception, where silence and restraint build an invisible fortress around the individual. The loudest declarations often mask insecurity or desperation, while those who understand the nature of influence know that silence itself can be the loudest statement. In the dance of power, perception is the stage, and what others see and believe about you is the currency of control. To wield power without speaking is to master the art of presence. When you speak less, every movement, every glance, every slight change in expression becomes amplified in the eyes of others. A calm, steady gaze can speak volumes. Deliberate pause in conversation can unsettle the most confident adversaries. The silence you keep becomes an enigma, puzzle others strain to decipher but never fully understand. It is in this mystery that power grows, because uncertainty breeds respect, sometimes even fear. When others are unsure of your intentions, your thoughts, or your limits, they tread carefully around you. They hesitate to challenge, to push, or to underestimate. This hesitance is where your influence lies. The quiet individual who commands the room is like a mountain, immovable, unyielding, yet containing depths invisible to the casual observer. The louder voices may momentarily drown out others, but their power is fleeting, easily challenged, and often based on emotion rather than calculation. In contrast, the silent strategist exerts a magnetic force that pulls attention inward, making others question and reconsider their own positions and statements. This is not the power of words, but the power of presence, carefully cultivated and maintained. Perception is carefully curated. It is not left to chance or whimsy. The way one carries oneself, the posture, the measured gestures, the tone of breathing, are all tools in shaping how others see and feel. A man who walks into a room with confidence and quiet dignity tells a story before he speaks. He communicates strength without the need for declaration. The subtle nod, the faint smile, the controlled facial expression, each is a thread in the web of influence. When others see a person who does not rush to fill silence, who does not seek approval through speech, they begin to attribute qualities to that person. Wisdom, control, that may or may not be true, but are powerful nonetheless. To cultivate such perception, one must first understand the weakness of words. Words are easily twisted, forgotten, or ignored. They demand response and engagement, which can expose vulnerabilities or force you into unwanted battles. By contrast, silence demands interpretation. When you withhold speech, others project their own fears, ambitions, and assumptions onto you. This projection allows you to operate without revealing your true intentions, creating an advantage unseen and unfought. Those who speak constantly reveal their hand. Those who remain silent keep theirs close. In this realm of silent power, the art of timing becomes paramount. Speaking is not forbidden, but it must be reserved for moments of maximum impact. The few words that break the silence should carry weight far beyond their number. When the quiet person finally chooses to speak, their voice cuts through the noise like a sharp blade, grabbing attention because it is rare and deliberate. This scarcity of speech magnifies its effect, making every utterance a tool of persuasion, command, or subtle manipulation. Others lean in, listen closely, and react carefully. Moreover, silence is a shield against exposure. When you say less, you reveal less. Your weaknesses, your desires, your plans. You deny others the ammunition of your own words, forcing them to guess and hesitate. This ambiguity makes it difficult for rivals to anticipate your moves or rally against you effectively. Power thrives in such uncertainty. When the loudest voices reveal their thoughts freely, they give their enemies a map to navigate their weaknesses. The silent strategist, however, cloaks intentions in shadows, making them elusive and frustrating to counter. Power through perception also means controlling the narrative without narrating it. You do not need to explain or justify yourself to hold influence. Instead, you become the subject of speculation and intrigue, and people are drawn to fill the gaps with their imagination, often elevating your status beyond reality. This is the paradox of silence. It creates an image that can be more potent and flexible than any spoken declaration. By appearing calm, confident, and inscrutable, you command attention not by force but by invitation, a silent pull that draws others into your orbit. Finally, Power built on perception is sustainable because it is based on emotional and psychological dominance rather than superficial showmanship. While loudness and speech can win moments or sway crowds temporarily, only the silent master of perception secures lasting authority. Others come to rely on their composed presence, to seek their unspoken guidance, and to fear the unpredictable nature of what lies beneath their quiet exterior. Thus, the silent figure becomes a linchpin of influence, wielding power without uttering a single word. The true master of influence is not the one who broadcasts every intention or reveals the full scope of his plans. Instead, power thrives in secrecy, in the deliberate withholding of information, while letting others believe they possess the knowledge needed to make decisions. To control information without appearing to do so is to manipulate the very reality others perceive. A subtle art requiring patience, cunning, and discipline. When others believe they understand the situation, they feel secure. When they feel secure, they let their guard down. This is the moment when the silent strategist acts, guiding outcomes with invisible hands. Revealing too much is the greatest folly a person seeking power can commit. It invites scrutiny, invites counterattack, and hands the opponent tools to undermine your position. By contrast, the one who controls the flow of information creates a fog around their true intentions. This fog is not created by lies alone, but by a careful balance of truth and omission, allowing others to piece together a picture that is incomplete and misleading. In this way, the silent manipulator directs the narrative without ever speaking it aloud, a puppeteer pulling strings from behind a curtain. To appear transparent while remaining opaque is a skill few master. You allow others glimpses into your world, carefully selected and framed, creating an illusion of openness and honesty. This earns their trust and lowers their defenses, yet what they believe they know is only a shadow of reality. While they chase fragments and try to connect dots, you move with full knowledge and purpose. They operate in a realm of assumptions, you operate with certainty. Controlling information also means shaping the timing of what is revealed and what remains hidden. Information has power only when it arrives at the right moment, when it disrupts expectations or confirms carefully planted doubts. A well-timed disclosure can alter the course of events far more than constant chatter. Silent strategist knows when to hold back and when to let a piece of information slip just enough to steer decisions and provoke desired reactions. This is not mere deception, but a strategic orchestration of knowledge, where control is exercised not by what is said, but by what is left unsaid. The art lies in appearing passive, even indifferent, to the flow of information. By giving the impression that you are uninvolved or unaffected, you lower suspicion and encourage others to reveal more than they intend. People have a natural tendency to fill silence with speech, and in doing so, they expose their own motives and weaknesses. The quiet observer absorbs these revelations and turns them into leverage. You do not need to interrogate or confront. The environment itself becomes your source of intelligence. Furthermore, controlling information without seeming to requires emotional discipline. The urge to correct misunderstandings, to clarify, or to assert dominance through speech must be resisted. Every word risks unveiling more than intended and shifts control away from the silent figure. Instead, you maintain a calm, measured demeanor, allowing confusion or misconceptions to persist when they work to your advantage. When necessary, subtle gestures or ambiguous remarks can be employed to nudge others' beliefs without committing to clarity. This ambiguity becomes a weapon, sowing doubt and hesitation among rivals. Power also resides in the ability to feed others just enough information to keep them engaged, while withholding critical insights that would give them an edge. This selective sharing creates dependency. Others rely on you to interpret the situation, to provide guidance, or to validate their assumptions. By positioning yourself as the gatekeeper of knowledge, you elevate your importance without making open claims. People come to you seeking answers they cannot find elsewhere, even as the true scope of your understanding remains concealed. A silent master of information control is always alert to the dangers of overexposure. In a world obsessed with transparency and constant communication, the temptation to reveal more can be overwhelming. Yet those who succeed in dominating without words understand that silence is the shield that protects secrets. Secrecy is not a sign of weakness but a fortress against attack. The less others know, the harder it is for them to build resistance. Knowledge becomes the currency of power only when it is scarce and carefully rationed. To control information without seeming to also means mastering the flow of influence indirectly. You do not confront or debate openly, you work through intermediaries, rumors, or strategic leaks. The web of influence extends beyond direct conversation, reaching into the minds of others who carry your carefully crafted narrative forward. These whispers and half-truths spread and multiply, shaping perceptions far beyond your immediate presence. By remaining in the shadows, you avoid backlash and maintain plausible deniability, while your agenda advances undetected. In this silent strategy, patience is essential. You do not rush to unveil plans or force outcomes prematurely. Instead, you orchestrate events over time, gradually tightening control through the slow accumulation of influence. When others believe they are acting freely, they unknowingly play into your design. This invisibility is the greatest strength. Being underestimated and overlooked is the perfect position from which to act decisively when the moment is right. Ultimately, those who control information without seeming to do so become the unseen architects of power. They do not boast of victories or declare intentions. Instead, they operate through shadows, shaping realities by what they choose to reveal or conceal. Their influence is a quiet force, steady and unyielding, commanding the course of events with invisible threads. In their silence, they hold the reins of control, guiding others who speak loudly but move blindly. In the theater of power, those who speak are often distracted by their own voices, revealing too much too soon. The true master, however, understands that the greatest advantage lies not in talking, but in listening and watching. In the silent gathering of knowledge that others unknowingly surrender. While others rush to declare their positions and assert their will, the one who remains quiet becomes a reservoir of insight, quietly absorbing the nuances of human behavior and the secrets hidden between words. This mastery of listening and observation is not a passive act, but a calculated strategy that transforms silence into strength. Listening goes beyond simply hearing words. It requires an acute attention to tone, hesitation, and emphasis. What is said openly is often a mask for what lies beneath. People reveal their true selves not in their carefully crafted statements, but in the slips, the contradictions, and the subtle shifts in emotion. The silence between words is as telling as the words themselves. A question left unanswered, a phrase repeated, a voice cracking under pressure. All these details become pieces of a larger puzzle that the silent observer assembles in the mind. Observation complements listening by extending awareness beyond words into the realm of gestures, expressions, and body language. Every twitch of the eye, every change in posture, every micro-expression carries meaning. The eyes often betray true feelings long before words can. A slight tightening of the jaw may hint at anger. Brief glance away may signal discomfort or deceit. The silent strategist learns to read these signs as fluently as one reads a written text. By doing so, they gain access to unspoken truths that are far more valuable than the noisy declarations of others. To master listening and observation is to become a student of human nature. Understanding the fears, desires, ambitions, and weaknesses of those around you provides the keys to influence and control. When others speak, they reveal their motivations, sometimes intentionally, often unconsciously. These revelations are gifts to be seized, ammunition for future maneuvers. The silent strategist collects these gifts without comment or judgment, cataloging the vulnerabilities that will later be leveraged to secure advantage. Patience is vital in this process. The silent observer must resist the temptation to respond impulsively or to fill the silence with words. Interrupting or rushing to judgment breaks the flow of information and risks exposing one's own intentions. Instead, the power lies in letting others speak themselves into revealing too much. As conversations unfold, the silent strategist remains a calm center, an anchor of composure that encourages openness in others. This creates an atmosphere where people lower their defenses, trusting the quiet presence before them. Furthermore, mastering listening and observation requires the ability to remain detached emotionally. Empathy is a tool, but not sympathy. The silent strategist uses empathy to understand others' emotions and motivations without becoming entangled in them. This detachment allows for clear analysis and prevents personal feelings from clouding judgment. It also enables the silent observer to maintain an unshakable calm, even in tense or volatile situations, which further enhances their aura of control. Another critical element is discretion. The silent strategist stores the knowledge gained from listening and observing like a precious resource, revealing it only when it serves a strategic purpose. The act of withholding information builds trust and creates an image of reliability. Others confide because they sense no threat, unaware that every word spoken becomes part of the silent strategist's arsenal. This discretion is the foundation of a quiet power, enabling the silent observer to influence events from behind the scenes. In mastering listening and observation, the silent strategist also develops the ability to anticipate patterns of behavior. Repeated phrases and subtle signals reveal the likely courses of action others will take. By predicting these moves in advance, the silent strategist can prepare responses, arrange contingencies, or manipulate circumstances to their advantage. This foresight turns passive observation into active control. Others move as if of their own, unaware they are following a path laid out by the quiet figure in the background. The silent strategist understands the value of silence in encouraging others to talk. By remaining deliberately quiet in conversations, they create an uncomfortable void that compels others to fill it. This tactic not only yields more information, but also places the silent strategist in a position of power. The louder voices become entangled in their own words, while the silent figure quietly gathers insight and influence. Silence becomes a magnet that draws out secrets, intentions, and weaknesses without force or confrontation. In social and political environments, the power of listening and observing is magnified. Those who dominate conversations often believe they control the narrative. But it is the quiet observer who understands the undercurrents and unspoken alliances. They see beyond words into the dynamics of power, the shifting loyalties, and the hidden agendas. This understanding allows them to maneuver deftly, avoiding pitfalls and exploiting opportunities invisible to the less attentive. Finally, the mastery of listening and observation is a continuous practice. It requires constant vigilance, a willingness to learn from every interaction, and an openness to subtle signals. The silent strategist never assumes knowledge is complete or certainty guaranteed. Instead, they refine their perception with every encounter, deepening their understanding and sharpening their ability to influence. In this ongoing process, silence is not a weakness, but a powerful tool that turns the chaotic noise of the world into a coherent map for action. The greatest paradox of power is that to wield it most effectively, one must appear dispensable. To be truly influential, you must embed yourself within the fabric of others' ambitions and needs, making yourself indispensable in function, yet invisible in threat. Those who loudly proclaim their importance or flaunt their ambitions invite envy and danger. Those who cloak their value beneath a guise of modesty and utility avoid the pitfalls of suspicion. Power is safest when it is perceived not as a challenge to others, as a quiet necessity, useful enough to be sought after, yet replaceable enough to be overlooked. To be useful is to understand what others need and provide it without ostentation. You become the solution to a problem no one else can solve, the person whose absence would cause inconvenience or delay. This usefulness is your currency, your means of access to influence. But it must be cultivated carefully. Too much visibility, too much pride in your role, and you risk becoming a target. Instead, your contributions should be reliable and consistent, but never so flashy that they breed jealousy or fear. You serve a purpose that benefits others, aligning yourself with their interests rather than your own ambitions. Appearances matter deeply in this strategy. The way you present yourself should suggest humility, cooperation, and even a willingness to be overlooked. You do not seek to dominate the room or command attention. Instead, you blend into the background, a steady presence that supports and facilitates. This subtlety disarms suspicion. Others do not see you as a threat because you do not position yourself as a rival. The more invisible your true influence, the safer you are from attack or envy. Being replaceable in appearance also means controlling the narrative around your role. If you become too identified with your usefulness, you risk being boxed into a single function, vulnerable to replacement by another who performs that function better or cheaper. The silent strategist, however, carefully expands the scope of their value while maintaining the illusion that anyone could step into their shoes. You cultivate diverse skills and relationships, making your presence essential in many subtle ways. This multiplicity of usefulness creates dependency that others fail to recognize fully, giving you leverage without confrontation. The art of seeming replaceable requires constant attention to the perceptions of others. You must observe how your usefulness is viewed and adjust accordingly. If you grow too confident or demanding, you provoke resentment. If you withdraw too much, you risk losing relevance. The balance is delicate. Provide enough value to be needed, not so much as to be feared. This balance ensures your survival in environments rife with competition and intrigue. Your value becomes a shield and a key simultaneously. Moreover, the willingness to appear replaceable is a form of strategic humility. It conceals ambition and prevents others from rallying against you. Open ambition is a beacon for enemies. It paints a target on your back. But those who practice silent power do not announce their goals or desires. Instead, they allow others to underestimate them, to believe they are insignificant or easy to bypass. This underestimation is a potent weapon, granting freedom to maneuver and strike when the moment is right. The illusion of replaceability becomes a mask behind which true power gathers strength. This strategy also demands patience and restraint. You resist the urge to seize credit or assert dominance, knowing that such acts invite challenges. Instead, you accumulate influence through subtle acts of service, discreet support, and quiet competence. Over time, these contributions weave a web of dependency that is invisible until it is too late for others to unravel. By appearing modest and replaceable, you secure a foothold in the hearts and minds of those who wield overt power, becoming an unseen architect of decisions and outcomes. Being useful yet replaceable also protects against the volatility of shifting alliances in politics. Those who are seen as irreplaceable can become victims of envy, betrayal. When power is too concentrated in one figure, others conspire to unseat them. The silent strategist diffuses this risk by maintaining a low profile, never claiming permanent possession of influence. By seeming like a cog in a larger machine, you escape the dangers that come with overt prominence. You become the oil that keeps the gears turning, necessary yet unnoticed. In practical terms, this means cultivating relationships across multiple spheres, providing assistance in ways that are easily forgotten but deeply appreciated. You become the problem solver in quiet crisis, the person who arranges solutions behind the scenes, the silent fixer. These roles build trust and goodwill without triggering competition. Others come to rely on you, often unaware of the true extent of your influence. This is the essence of silent power, the ability to shape outcomes while maintaining a facade of modesty and replaceability. The silent strategist also uses this perception to deflect attacks. When accused or challenged, the appearance of being replaceable disarms hostility. Rebels hesitate to expend effort on removing someone who seems inconsequential or easily swapped out. This hesitation buys time and space for the silent strategist to consolidate power further. It turns potential enemies into passive observers or reluctant allies, unable to justify aggressive moves against a figure perceived as marginal. Finally, the strategy of being useful yet replaceable nurtures a long-game perspective. It prioritizes sustainability of influence over quick, flashy victories. The silent strategist builds a foundation of trust, reliability, and subtle indispensability that endures through changes in leadership, alliances, and fortune. While others gamble with bold moves and open displays of ambition, the silent figure cultivates quiet control that outlasts storms and survives shifts in the landscape of power. Certainly, here's a conclusion that ties together the themes of the entire script in the same Machiavellian tone and style, without explicitly naming Machiavelli. In the realm of influence, the loudest voices rarely hold the greatest power. True mastery lies not in proclamations or displays, but in the silent currents that shape the thoughts and actions of others without ever revealing their source. By commanding perception rather than speech, controlling the flow of information without seeming to, and mastering the art of listening and observation, one moves unseen yet unchallenged through the corridors of power. To be useful yet appear replaceable completes this subtle dance, ensuring survival and influence by evading envy and suspicion. This is the path of the silent strategist, one who understands that words often betray, but silence conceals and commands. It is a path forged not in noise or haste, but in patience, discipline, and calculated restraint. To outsmart everyone without saying a word is to wield power invisibly, to bend reality to one's will from the shadows, and to reign quietly where others shout in vain. Those who walk this way do not seek to be heard, they seek to be felt, moving unseen yet shaping all that unfolds.